Hello, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to episode 13?
13, I think.
13 or 12, I think it's 13, of the Caleb Knits podcast. I'm Caleb, and I'm so glad you're here.
And I'm Bonnie, but you can call me Mom, because that's what he calls me.
Very good. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter as Caleb9513.
And you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Austin Bonnie 1 and Twitter as Bonnie Austin 18.
Very good. I'm also on Ravelry. I just am not using it as much because of their inaccessibility right now. So I'm not going to put my link there in case you haven't switched over your Ravelry settings back to classic. I don't want you to harm yourself if you watch podcasts, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Okay, so right off the bat, I think we need to discuss a name change because you have now been in more episodes than just me, and I think it's been that way for a while. So what can we call ourselves?
Well, the thing is, it's going to get hard to continue this together. Yeah, this is our last episode from the cow location.
We had to move some furniture because guess what? I sold the fucking chair.
You did.
It's somebody else's problem now. Actually, it's a sweet second grade girl's problem now, and it probably doesn't squeak so much for her.
Yeah,
but
it's gone with lots of other things. We're in a half-empty house right now, and trying to. Here in the next few days, it'll be all the way empty.
Dude, literally about, I don't have my watch on. What time is it?
I don't know.
8 o'clock?
Something like that.
In like a week and 4 hours, I will be starting my new job in Kansas City.
He doesn't have a house to live in yet.
If
anybody knows a good shelter,
hey, don't.
What?
I don't need a shelter. I have friends that I can stay with if I need to.
I know. No, but I meant like a homeless shelter.
Mom.
Well, there's probably a mission.
But I don't need to be living in a homeless shelter.
Are you going to be homeless?
No. There are resources that I can use.
Okay.
Anyway.
Anyway.
I don't think we should joke about being homeless.
Well, I know, but I really wasn't joking because what's the definition of homeless?
Without a home or without a place to stay.
Without a place to stay. And you officially, right now,
are homeless.
Are homeless in Kansas City. While he's here, not a problem. Lola and Ivy will stay at Grandma's. They're going to be just fine. While he's here, he can stay at our house. He'll be just fine. But his job is about 300 miles away. So it'd be a rough commute every day. So he'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got...
You've got some options.
Yeah, we've got it figured out. It's just we need to finalize some things.
Yeah.
But no, I think you have like a premium Zoom, right?
Yeah.
Record it from your iPad, Mama, and then just send it to me and I can edit it and upload it.
No, we have to do it together.
We can Zoom and record it. I mean, we can probably do it from my computer too, but my computer is almost out of memory and it's not even that old. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, we can do that.
So should we give some suggestions for names? Or some ideas?
Should we ask for some suggestions?
Okay, so let's ask for some suggestions, but also what are some of our parameters?
Has to talk about knitting.
Right.
Because right now it's Caleb Knits podcast. So Knits has to be in the title.
I don't want Austin Knits.
No, it still needs to say Caleb. Caleb still needs to be in there.
Well, but you need to be included as well.
Well, Caleb and Mom, or something like that.
I don't like that. It doesn't flow.
Okay, well, give us some suggestions. We'll continue to think about it and brainstorm. But
pontoon sock knits? Because we both have pontoon feet?
No.
I'd try. Anyway, so awkward setup. Mom is sitting on the broken couch.
Trying to balance, because literally it's on the broken couch.
I don't think we could have both fit on the piano bench.
I know.
Sorry.
And the couch is not going to Kansas City either.
No.
It's going to the curb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta love, like, used furniture, right? It's lived its life.
Yep.
If this one part of it could be cut off, it could live its life as a love seat. But
that doesn't work.
no. All right. So we'll talk more about job, moving, life at the end of this podcast. But where to begin? What do we start with?
Finished objects.
Finished objects. I do have a finished object.
Wow.
Oh shit. Okay, so I don't have it with me.
The one at my house?
Yeah, but I'll insert a picture.
Okay.
So I made an Instagram post about this, but brioche is kind of like my meditation stitch. Like lots of people love garter stitch, lots of people are all about stockinette in the round. My meditation is 1x1 brioche rib. The just the rhythm of it, the clacking of the needles gets me just in a place of zen where I can relax and can just kind of think about what I need to think about. And so I often will knit brioche hats. That's kind of like my project when I don't know what to knit or don't really feel like working on the projects that I have going. I'll just cast on usually a vanilla fog hat by Andrea Mowry, and that's what I did. So pictured here is my little brother Jonathan, who is a gracious recipient. He can
Yes.
always have hand knits. I don't think he's ever asked for hand knits, but if he ever wants them, you better believe that he's gonna get them because I gave it to him, he went, no way, this is so cool. And so the yarn that I used was a gradient cake from Alex Creates that I purchased about a year ago. And it's always been intended for a hat. And so I'm glad to get it knit up. Jonathan attends Tabor College, where they're the Blue Jays. And he has beautiful blue eyes.
Yep.
So the color was really appropriate for him.
Well, and he loves them. Loves the hats because he's a swimmer. So, swimming is a winter sport. So, when he comes out after a workout in the pool after practice, they go out into the cold to get back to the dorm. So he likes to have a hat that he can slip on his wet head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, got to make sure it's superwashed then.
Yeah.
Which it is. I smelled his other hat that I gave him last year. It's pretty stinky.
Yeah.
You might want to wash that.
I will. It's in the pile.
And honestly, that yarn can probably just go in the
Really?
washer and dryer.
Okay.
It's Regia sock yarn. Anyway,
Cool.
So that's my finished object. What finished object do you have?
Well, I do have a finished object, and I actually made Caleb postpone recording this podcast so I could officially have a finished object.
Yeah, so we're recording at night
Usually,
by the light of a shadeless lamp that I found in the closet.
Anyway, this is the sock I was working on last time, and last time this sock we were about ready for a toe. If you remember, I had it on my foot. We were trying to decide how long to go. So this is the sock from last week, just about finished, and ta-da, it's a pair. This particular sock pattern is the Vanilla Latte sock pattern with a heel flap and gusset, decrease and gusset. The sock leg and the foot, the front of the foot, is a 6x2
Garter rib.
garter rib. That's what it was said. Anyway, it's a 2x2 ribbing here for about 15 stitches, then a 6x2 garter, and with a heel flap and gusset. This is the first I've ever done contrasting heels and toes.
And reinforced.
Yeah, I did a different kind of heel flap. that I tried. Anyway, this yarn, I told you last time, but this is To the Max yarn. And I can't remember the color other than it's eggplant in English. Help me out.
Aubergine.
Aubergine.
Abergine
is what I called it. Anyway, Mackenzie, thank you so much. I love the yarn. Love, love, love the colors. And it was a great yarn to work with. And yeah, I didn't know what I would think of hot pink heels and toes, but
I think it really pulls it together.
yeah, I really, really like the way it came together. So.
And lucky you're able to tell which one's your left and which one's
Oh,
your right.
hush. Okay, so let's be honest here. Let me put my socks on so I can tell you which one's which.
Your glasses.
My glasses. I wanted to try a different heel flap. So the pattern, the vanilla latte pattern, gives you like 3 heel flap options. One is just do a straight stockinette. One is to do a slip rib.
Yeah.
And the other one was called
Eye of Partridge.
Eye of Partridge. Eye of Partridge looked too hard. So I decided I was going to try slip rib. It was something new, so I tried it. Well, this is my second one, okay? And this is what a slip rib needs to look like when we're done.
Beautiful.
Okay? This is my first one. I eventually got to a slip rib. The first, 6 rows or so, I got off one. And when I got off one, it ended up being, what do we call it?
Eye of Partridge.
An Eye of Partridge. So I know I can do an Eye of Partridge now.
Yeah, she called me and she was like, why does this not look like the picture?
Yeah, that's why. So yes, I know the difference between my right and my left. And it doesn't matter because they're my socks and I'm going to love them like they are. So there.
What she really wanted to say was, fuck off.
Yeah, you had to point out my mistake. Thank you very much, Caleb, who never makes mistakes.
Never do.
Never do.
Do you have any other finished objects?
I do not. And because I just finished this, I don't even have a work in progress.
Oh my God.
I know it. So I'm actually contemplating, what am I going to start next? I've got 2 or 3 options that I'm ready to jump in on. I just don't know which one I want to go first.
If you want to finish them.
Nope, no thanks.
Well, I guess I can talk about works in progress. So, as I've been packing things up,
As I've been packing?
As we've been packing
Thank
things
you.
up, I get overwhelmed very easily. So Mom has been here to, I feel like I'm on an episode of Hoarders sometimes where like they bring stuff to you and then they're like, okay, decide what you want to keep. And yeah, I'm not a hoarder, but am I?
He could easily be one.
Not, but only with certain things.
Right, but I mean, if anxiety got worse,
Yes.
you could easily be a hoarder.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
that just got
So,
really dark in my brain. Anyway.
Let's please keep anxiety under control.
So as we were packing my 6 boxes of yarn, I was cleaning out a bag, and now my hat whips live in this bag. So the hat that I knit for Jonathan was in this bag, and then I cast on another brioche hat for my best friend, Kristen. So Kristen just turned 25 Friday. I don't know what day it is. So happy birthday, Kristen. And she's a beautiful blonde with beautiful blue eyes. So I'm knitting her a beautiful blue hat.
That's not blue.
Yes, it is.
It's green.
It's blue. Your couch is also purple. Anyway, but I didn't want to knit just, excuse me, I have the hiccups. Another Vanilla Fog. I wanted to knit the Excuse Me hat by Stephen West. Kristen is kind of kooky like me. And so I figured she would appreciate the versatility of this hat. So I cast it on and have been making progress. This is achieved by doing a series of decreases and increases at certain points. And then the rest is just a 1x1 brioche stitch. And this one, I mean, it's not quite as meditative because you have to keep track of where you are at the repeat, but really it's just one row of doing an increase and a decrease. So that's that. Mom so graciously wound the yarn for me because she's amazing. And the yarn
I just wanted to pack his ball winder and Swift, so I said, fine, I'll do it.
We take what we can get, right? So this yarn is yarn that I bought from Marla on a D-stash. We love Marla and her D-stashes. And these are both La Bien-Aimée. The bottom is La Bien-Aimée and Rosa Pomar, the Mondim, dyed by La Bien-Aimée. And the top is mohair, and they're in the same color. I just don't know what that color is. So Bonnie, thoughts on the yarn?
Well, you know, when I wound that,
The Rosa Pomar Portuguese wool.
yeah, I'm like, ooh,
It's
that's a little rough, little coarse.
It's a little crunchy.
Yeah.
Is the color Happy Accident?
No, Elise.
Okay, so the mohair is Elise,
Elise.
and this is Happy Accident. So I'll just put the ball bands in the bag, but
Can't quite get it to focus. Come on, focus.
it's okay. And then there's that. So, anyway, I'm enjoying it.
I don't know that
this, though?
Yeah, see, I didn't like it so much when it was just that, but now that he's got it held together with the mohair, much nicer. Yeah, this is nice and soft and definitely a keeper.
And then that's gonna go on top of it.
It'll be so cute.
I anticipate this will be like my stress knitting. My
Yep.
not to steal Stacy's term, but got it. So, Excuse Me Hat by Stephen West.
Very good.
In La Bien-Aimée. And you don't have
I don't
anything.
know, other than an acquisition. So
Well,
you better just keep talking, boy.
okay.
Well, don't cover up my acquisition.
All right, so here's something you haven't seen in a while.
Lola, go lay down, babe.
Oh, did she bump the camera?
Go lay down.
Don't touch her. She'll,
Lay down.
she kind of looks like a deer. Like, you
Good
know?
girl.
Okay. Anyway, so as we were packing, my things are being put in my parents' what we call the shed, which is like a big outbuilding, until I can move into my home. So the things, so yarn is not accessible right now. Needles are not accessible right now, really. Although we might need to hop into one of the boxes because I need my minis, my Chalco minis, the blue ones for sleeves. Anyway, another discussion for another time. But all the projects that I was like, okay, these are at places where if I have the time to work on them, they're in good places. They're not necessarily mindless, all of them, but they serve different purposes and they can be worked on. So the first one I decided to pull out and continue working on is my City Limits sweater. Is this the back? Yes, this is the inside back. And this is by Tanis Lavallee. And I'm knitting it out of Goosey Fibers in their sport base. Out of their Marina colorway, I think. Ancient Marine. Anyway, it's a rose cardigan fade kit. So, I actually today got to the point where I am knitting the darkest color held together because there's a fade technique that Tanis uses that gets you a nice clean fade. And I have about 30 rows to knit in that color and then ribbing. And then I was looking at the yarn that I have left, and I do not have a whole lot of the light to dark color. So like this color that transitioned from the lightest to the darkest, or to the lightest darkest. That made a lot of sense. But that did end up on my sleeves for about 6 rows. I don't know if you can see the stitch marker here. So anyway, but I'm not gonna have enough to do 2 sleeves. But I'll have a ball each of the 2 darkest colors. So what I think I'm going to do is I have a minuscule amount of this color left. I'm gonna do like 1 round of that color held with the lightest dark color, and then just start.
Just dark.
Yeah, my sleeves be dark.
Because on my City Limits, my sleeves are predominantly dark too.
And honestly, I think that's how most City Limits have ended up because of yarn requirements. And I do have enough of the lightest to do a collar, so that's good. I'm doing the ribbing option on this sweater, so it'll be a ribbed collar, ribbed hem, ribbed cuffs. Yeah, it'll be good. Right now it's just stockinette and every so often some pearls. I'll show you the way that it's intended to be worn, is inside out with the pearl side showing. Now I wonder, yes. So, and there's short rows, that's what I was looking for. So there's that. It looks a little bit shorter than it actually is, but it's super wash and it'll grow, and I have about that much plus ribbing left. So
so it'll be good.
Yeah, it's just a lot of knitting.
It is.
Then there's that little side detail too that I love. So this was our COVID cast on with our friend Amy. Both Amy and Bonnie have finished theirs. I have not. But that's because I started a test knit.
Yeah, you've been busy with other things.
Yeah, like fucking moving and getting a job and being depressed.
Not having a job and
Yeah. So anyway, that's that. Okay, so moment of accountability here. I was too confident when I signed up for this test knit. I told Max, absolutely, 3 months to knit an all over color sweater, I can do it. Normally I think I could have, but when you don't knit the entire month of June, you don't get your test knits done. And actually, I haven't even gotten the raglan increases done on this. So I've been talking to Max, and he was like, I want you to have fun with this knit as well. Get done what you can get done, post it on Ravelry, and finish it when you can. And that's just amazing. So I do want to finish this. My thing is right now I'm looking at this and I'm like, when am I ever going to wear this?
Oh, you will.
I know I will as soon as it's done, but I'm like, camouflage, Caleb? Really?
Oh, no, that's gonna be so beautiful.
So anyway, this is where I'm at on my active duty sweater, which is a test knit for Max Sincere. I do see, and now I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's beautiful.
It is gorgeous.
So, yeah, I am about halfway through the raglan increase chart, which is about 10 rows more from where you saw it last time. But 10 rows is about 6 hours of work. I mean, it's tedious following the charts. And it could just be the way that I'm reading the chart that makes it tedious because I don't want to rip back. But even still, I'm having to rip back sometimes. Oh yeah, that's even more vibrant. So, and I'm about to a point now in this chart where I have, so if you can see my stitch markers, I have marked off every 10 stitches. And I'm coming up to a point in the chart now where it's like block of 10, block of 10, block of 10, instead of having like 7 and then you do every other and then
well, that'll be nice. That'll go a whole lot faster.
I'm hoping. So
yeah.
Active Duty by Max Sincere. The yarn is dyed by Dells in Moira's Black Rose and Max's Camo, And the yarn is in my ball sacks, are in my ball sacks. Is the yarn, singular, is in
Lives in.
their possessive, their respective ball sack. So,
Very good.
yep, and that's living in, all the yarn is in one tote bag, which is then in another tote bag, which the project then sits on top of. And that is in my Jody Pride bag, my Mrs. Brown's bag. Pride
Very
bag.
good.
So,
Very good.
all right.
Well, I wanted to talk just a little bit about the class that I took.
Yes, tell us.
Yay! Trish from Yarn Social. I'm trying to remember what her Ravelry name is.
Trish Badish.
Yeah, Trish Badish. Anyway, she owns Yarn Social,
In Westport.
privately
in Kansas
owned,
City. Local yarn store.
local yarn store in Kansas City, Missouri.
In Westport,
Okay, which is Kansas City,
Missouri.
Anyway, Trish offered a Zoom class on Ravelry and how to use Ravelry and the different components of Ravelry. And previously, the only thing I ever used Ravelry for was to look up patterns and find free patterns or find patterns that I wanted to download, which is great. I mean, I love the fact that you could do that, but I learned so much about how to search for patterns and how to, some of the things you can
Specify.
yeah,
filter.
things you can filter. That's the word I was looking for. With things you can filter down to. You can look for patterns for certain yarns, or say, I have this yarn and I want it to be a sweater, and just start going through saying, yeah, I think I want it to be a cardigan. Well, I think I want it to be this. Well, it's this weight and I have this much of the yarn, and it will bring it down and down and down and down to where you have a few patterns that will work specifically for the yarn you want to use.
Or even like I'm getting this gauge when I swatch with it.
Exactly. I had no idea you could do it by gauge.
That's what I love the most about it, and actually I'm going to talk about that in acquisitions.
Yeah, so that was very good. Also, I have not yet, but I'm going to do this next. I'm going to put these on a project page.
Whoa,
Because
that's more than I do.
I've never done a project page. So I will put my vanilla latte socks, and I will tag Mackenzie at To The Max for her yarn their yarn. And anyway, so that will be this week's project sometime along the way to get that done.
I use other people's Ravelry project pages all the time to look for like modifications and yarns that they've used. And really, as someone who modifies patterns, I really should do a better job of putting things on. But like, or if I do a test knit, I always put it on. But like, the Radmere sweater that I'm knitting, that cabled one, where I'm going to insert panels, I'll be sure to do a project page for that, so that other people know that they can do that. But
Even just like, okay, so this is the second pair of socks I've done for me, and I every time I go, how long do I need to make the foot?
Oh, yeah,
How long do
yeah.
I need to make the leg? I don't know how long I want it. Well, I can now put on my project page, I did so many rows, and it came, it made it this long, and it was a mid-ankle calf, or mid-ankle length, or whatever, mid-calf length. And that way I can go back and look. The next time I want to do a pair of socks, I don't have to go, how long should I make the foot? I don't know. I can say 85 rows or whatever it is. And I don't have to hem-haw around with trying to figure that out every time.
Yeah, I do that for commission socks. I forgot. If someone has commissioned me to knit them socks, I just make a project page for them with all of the socks that I've knit for them. And they all follow the same recipe.
Yeah.
So
So anyway, that was fun. That was interesting. little overwhelming sometimes, you know. And we talked about the new design of Ravelry and how you can switch it back to the traditional layout.
Which is great.
But I do know they've been taking a lot of surveys and asking a lot of questions. So I'm anticipating they're going to be making some changes along the way as well.
We hope, because, you know, I was listening to Skandir on Instagram Live and just kind of chiming in on one of her lives the other day, and she was talking about Ravelry, and, you know, we talk about when you love someone or something, you challenge them to be better or call them in to be better, and we love Ravelry so much that we want them to do better and be more inclusive for everyone. So hopefully that's coming down the pipe.
Yep.
So, very good. Those are all my whips that, I mean, there's a stack of whips over there. Let's see, there's a sweater, some socks.
He sent some socks home with me. He said, "Hey, will you finish this?"
What?
Yes, you did.
Wait, I didn't say, will you finish it? I said these skeins were meant to be socks for you.
No, but there's a pair for your dad. That there's one
Did
sock
you
done.
take those?
Yes.
Oh.
So that they'd get done.
Wow. So kind.
So kind.
Yeah, that was one thing. Because I have like my, is that thunder? Or is that
Could
just,
be.
so I have like my main stash, right? Then I had like good stash or like excess stash, usually like sweater quantities. So my main stash was in a bookshelf, which was mainly sock and shawl yarn. Then all my sweater quantities lived in the kitchen cabinets. But then we found the island, or the boxes, plural, of misfit yarns, and found quite a few sock whips. Oops. And you know what? They ended up there in that same box. And will probably remain in that box.
Yeah, 10 years from now, when he moves out of his house in Kansas City, we'll move him again. As long as we don't get more.
Half socks?
Yeah.
I don't know. Bruce could lose a foot.
It's awful.
The man's been ill. Be nice to him. Anyway. Acquisitions? So I hinted at an acquisition. While Mom and Bruce were in South Dakota visiting Grandma last week, I was watching Grocery Girls, which I need to stop doing because every week I have to buy something. I have Mackenzie yarn coming from 2 weeks ago.
So do I.
I have, and see, here's the thing. I didn't know when I would need to be out of this house. So I'm for sure going to need to make sure the mailman has a forwarding address for me. And it's probably just going to be your address. So anyway, on the Grocery Girls, Tracy was knitting a cardigan out of Rosa Pomar. I don't remember what the yarn is, but it's their 50-50 recycled cotton wool. And she's knitting I believe it's like supposed to be a fingering weight sweater. It's a worsted weight wool. She just said, this is my gauge and this is the size that I need to cast on to figure it out. And why haven't I ever done that? So that's what I'm gonna do. So I ordered a sweaters quantity from Espace Tricot in Quebec, or in Montreal, Quebec, because they were having their 10-year anniversary sale. Right now, as Americans, there are very few things to be happy about, but the exchange rate between the United States and Canada right now is in the favor of the United States. So got a discount that way. And then they also had a 15% discount as well. So took advantage of that and have a sweaters quantity of some wool or some yarn. It's not all wool, that I'm excited to try. And one thing I want to kind of focus on in my knitting is having those capsule pieces. One thing that we're going to do here before I move again is go through my closet and go through my wardrobe and donate and sell and get rid of things that I just don't wear or don't fit. and really kind of I really want to try to be more conscious of curating my wardrobe in a sustainable way. And so like t-shirts, probably not going to buy a whole lot of anymore. Honestly, clothes I'm probably not going to buy a whole lot of anymore, except for pants, because we all know how I do pants, right? Anyway, so what was I saying? So anyway, I'm trying to be more cognizant of the yarns that I'm buying for garments, because I love the crazy fun colors, and I do wear crazy fun colors, but I also need like not crazy fun wardrobe pieces. So that's that on that. It's like a tan color.
Good.
So
Good. Well, I had gotten, I'm not going to remember the colorway on the yarn that I got from Mackenzie, from To The Max.
Cosmic. So it was something to do with galaxies.
Milky Way.
Milky Way.
It's Milky Way.
I'm gonna go fill the dog's water dish real quick because she's
Yes.
staring at me like I've punched her in the vagina. So, oh God, excuse my language. In case you didn't know, I say inappropriate
Yes,
things.
he
There's my front door.
Yeah. Anyway, I had ordered a skein of Milky Way, fingering weight, and love the color. And so I was trying to make a way to take that skein into a baby sweater. I think we had talked about this last time. Anyway, the pattern that I'm going to use, Caleb, what was that called? Do you remember?
The Baby Surprise Jacket by Elizabeth Zimmerman.
The Baby Surprise Jacket by Elizabeth Zimmerman. Definitely what I'm going to use. But it was really written for a DK. So I, of course, went on Mackenzie's site, To The Max, and ordered some DK. So I've got some Milky Way DK coming for that sweater. And then...
There's mohair on my straw.
Then another time when we were watching, wasn't it Grocery Girls? Yeah, it was Grocery Girls. We made another order, and help me out, Caleb. These come from Aves Fiber Works, and
Aves like bird.
Yes, and because all of their yarn, I think, is named after birds, isn't it? I think so.
Aves is bird in Spanish.
And anyway, she had put together kits for Jody's
slipped rib hat,
which is, I believe, a DK and mohair.
Mosaic.
Yeah. So anyway, I know I bought the pattern. I think you have as well, haven't you?
I haven't yet, but I definitely will.
Yes. So here's my yarn for that hat, and it came in the mail. I actually made a second trip to South Dakota this week. I'd gone last weekend and went again, and I'll tell you why later. But this came in the mail while I was gone, and Caleb was at my house when I came, and I wanted to surprise him with it. But anyway, this is an African gray merino DK and pink cockatoo.
And it's kitted up for the hat, so it's not a full skein of DK. It's only a 50-gram skein. It's a full 50 grams. So,
but won't that be gorgeous? And the design of the hat is for there to be a pretty big contrast. And then, and then it comes with a pom-pom.
Oh shit, that's pretty.
Isn't that going to be pretty? Pretty. This will be for mine. So that's why I kind of want to get this on the needles.
So do it.
But I know there's other stuff too that I want to do.
Do
So
what you want.
I ordered this, and at the same time, you know what it's like, moms, right? When the kid's there saying, Mom, I like this one. Can you order this one for me? Da-da, there you go, Caleb.
And this is the first time I'm seeing this because she said I was at her house when it was delivered. Yeah, I was. But Mama, I did not open the bag. I said, I know how fun it is to open a package of yarn. I'm going to let her do that.
Yes, he did.
Ooh. So same put up, Merino Decay and Mulberry Silk. This one is in the Kingfisher colorway. And this one is American Robin. Oh, that's so soft.
Check it out.
And then I got a nice tan pom-pom. And you can find this amazing dyer on Instagram as Aves, spelled in the Anglo way, Aves or Aves. Fiber, the American way, works. So Aves Fiber Works. And they are Aves Fiberworks on Instagram Ravelry, and their website is avesfiberworks.com. Visit website for care instructions.
So,
Where
another?
Where do they ship from? Did you see the return label?
I'd have to look.
Is it the United States?
I honestly don't remember. I think it did.
Excuse me. So they're an American.
I think so.
Oh my gosh. Disgusting.
I don't remember for sure.
That's cute.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.
So now I gotta wonder, yesterday, when I was like, hey, Mom, check your Instagram.
I did not order bags.
Because when she was here helping me pack, she said, oh, I need more bags. Because I gave her one, and she was like, oh, I still need more. And so then Caleb, the Bearded Pearl, up in Wisconsin, which if you haven't seen his podcast, you need to watch it. He just put out a 2.5-hour podcast.
Oh my goodness.
With his partner, Justin. Which, by the way, there are 3 Calebs that I know of who have knitting podcasts. Myself, Caleb, Bearded Pearl, close to Amish. And then Caleb Drowning in Yarn just posted his first episode too. So check them out. So
very cool.
Caleb Knitters is what I was.
Anyway, and Caleb's Pearl, what's it called?
Bearded Pearl.
Bearded Pearl has some new bags.
Oh, did I not?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You didn't finish the story.
Didn't finish the thought. His Etsy shop is the Bearded Pearl. He makes bags, has knitting notions, fiber notions, that kind of thing often. And they're really pretty. But I've been so good so far this month with this paycheck, all like 3 days.
Yeah, I was like, Caleb, you just got your paycheck.
All like 3 days of not buying yarn. I've been so close because people are posting their Advent stripey socks.
I know, Caleb, but
I'm buying
when you're buying a house which needs a refrigerator and washer and dryer and furniture,
I know.
it will be hard to sit on a yarn bag.
It'd be soft.
All right, what are you reading or watching, Monsieur?
Oh my goodness. So this past week I've been reading a lot, and it is because if you follow me on Instagram, you saw this, but I follow, so there's like the knitting community on YouTube, right? Well, there's also the bookish internet. So on YouTube we call it BookTube. I'm more explaining this to you, I think, than I am to them. Oh, we should talk about these. BookTube. So I listen to a podcast called Books Unbound, which is hosted by 2 booktubers and just people who are really prevalent on the bookish internet named Raylene and Ariel. And they live in Vancouver, or they live in the British Columbia. I think they live in the Kelowna area. Anyway, they host an event every year called the Reading Rush, which is like an internet-based event where people just read. They talk about the books they're reading. They produce content around books. I guess the closest thing in the fiber world would be Tour de Fleece, where like you're spinning, except there's no team component. But you're conversing with people on an online forum about what you're reading. You're posting on Instagram about your reading, and it's just a lot of fun for a week. And they have different challenges or specifications for your TBR, which is your to be read pile. So you pick different titles for all of these different things, and it's super not high stakes. So you can do one book from multiple prompts. I'm sorry, am I boring you?
No, I'm sorry, but I'm tired.
Yawn, because obviously you have to.
Excuse me.
Where are you? Come back. I will. Oh, there it is. There's the yawn. Okay. So the prompts this year were like the first book that you touch, a book with this cover is the color of your birthstone, a book that starts with the letter or with the word the, so on and so forth. So I curated a TBR and read most of the books that were on there.
Cool.
So, of course, I had already started 2 of the 4 that I read / am reading. But first thing that I did was I read the book Dig by A.S. King. Fantastic book. I don't even know how to explain it. I could say that it is a book about systemic racism, but I don't know that it's about that. It's just a really subtle book. Like, I think that's the best way to explain it. And I think the author's intent is to show you the subtlety of privilege and racism, especially in the United States. But it's built around a story of a very dysfunctional family. So it's very good. And potatoes, like they get the title from potatoes.
Okay.
And like they kind of have this metaphor for potatoes and people, and it can be a little like earthy, crunchy granola person, because A.S. King is kind of an earthy, crunchy granola person, but it was also very good. I read the first 30% in one sitting, and then I read the remaining 70% in another sitting, from like 11 to 5 in the morning. So that was the first book I read. Second book I read was I finally finished The Book of Longings by Sue Monk Kidd. I went ahead and finished this on audiobook because I knew that if I was reading it with my eyes, it would be too lyrical. That's how I describe books that are very word-centric. It would be too lyrical for me to finish in a timely manner because I've been reading it since May 25th. And if I can read a book in 2 sittings, there's no reason that a 400-page book is
taking you that long.
Yeah, so I finished it on audiobook. I use Libro FM. I used to use Audible, but I'm trying to cut back on my Amazon usage. So that was very good. Very lyrical book. The story is an interesting one. And yeah, it's definitely an Oprah's book club kind of vibe, which I think it was. So liked that. Third book I read was a shorty and an oldie, but a goodie, called The Little Prince by a dead Frenchman. Antoine du something Exupéry. I'll post a picture of all these covers so you can see. And it's a very classic book, translated from French, so it was a translation, it wasn't a direct text. But it was actually very good, and actually, I haven't told you this yet, but I think it inspired my next tattoo.
Oh.
So, it'll be, it's a children's classic, so the point of the book, it was written there's airplanes in it, so probably the 1930s, close to 100 years ago. It's meant to give a moral of a story. So, kind of the moral is like take advantage and sit in the sunsets if that's what you enjoy and that kind of thing. So anyway, very nice. And it was short, so that was good. And then the book that I didn't get to but will be reading next is called Such a Fun Age by Kylie something. Again, put a picture up here. I really enjoy reading Reese Witherspoon's book club picks, so that is from there, and it was also the book club pick for the Reading Rush. So people who were more prepared than I was read the book and discussed it in online forums on a Discord online, so that was pretty cool. I forgot to mention the book Dig was the book club book for the Books Unbound podcast hosted by Raylene and Ariel, and that's their next book club pick. So I wanted to get it done in time so that I could contribute to that podcast because what they do is they have their listeners send them voice clips of their thoughts and questions and kind of have a discussion about the book. But I was a day late, so
Oh,
I know.
shoot.
That's okay. And then finally, we get to this. Misery by Stephen King. I'm not finished yet. I have about 150 pages left, so I'll probably finish this either tonight or tomorrow. But not as scary as I thought it would be. I believe I've talked about Misery on this podcast before, back when it was just me. And the only reason I wanted to read it was because Kathy Bates is in the movie Misery. And so of course I have Kathy Bates in my head as I'm reading this book. And literally, so it's a very intense book. I think Stephen King is good at writing intense. I can't make that claim. This is the first Stephen King book I've read. But my opinion so far is that he's very good at writing intense. So good, in fact, that last night I read a part that literally made me dry heave and gag. It was repulsive. If you've read the book, it's the part with the mouse in the mousetrap before Annie goes to her laughing place that Paul is aware of. Oh, I read it to her, and her comment was, "Oh, that's not so bad."
Not so bad. Well,
It made me fucking gag. Anyway, I'm liking the book. Like I said, I'll finish it soon. But anyway.
well, let me tell you the reason why it wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
Okay. I just made kind of an emergency trip to South Dakota. It's about 520 miles one
We
way.
can talk about it at the end. But
And anyway, Jonathan, Caleb's youngest brother, who we made the hat for, Jonathan went with me. It was just the two of us. So I told him, I said, Jonathan, pick a book. Go to Audible, pick a book that you want to listen to. So Jonathan...
should we give some background about Jonathan?
Well,
He's
go ahead.
a weird motherfucker.
Hey, he's your brother.
He would appreciate that. He's an interesting dude.
He is. Jonathan's a gamer. Absolutely loves video gaming. Loves YouTube's. Can spend
Hours
and hours and hours and hours
weeks.
watching YouTube videos and that kind of stuff. Anyway, so when he said, yeah, I'll look for it. And so when he looked for a book, he was looking for, put in descriptive things like monsters and monster hunting, and
He's also big into D&D.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So anyway, so Jonathan got Monstermologist. I don't know if you can see that. Monstermologist is the title, and Rick Yancey is the author. About 11 hours of audio. And I said, that's okay, Jonathan. We can listen to it at 1.5 because that way we can get it done a little faster. And he said, oh, no.
He made you listen to it at one
We
time.
had to listen to it at 1.0 speed because he said the dramatic of the hunt and things like that will be better at that speed.
He's an interesting motherfucker.
It was actually a very good book. This scientist, this monstermologist, studies monsters, but his father was also a monstermologist, and so there's some family dynamics in there and how he's trying to live up to his father's expectations, and he finds out that his father was actually responsible for bringing some of these monsters to their land, and these monsters are nasty ass. Oh yeah. And when Caleb read the thing about the mouse, nothing compared to the descriptive of what happened, what these monsters did to people. And a scientist comes in to hunt the monsters, and later at the end of the book, they reference this monster hunter again, and that he's been in London, and there's been these murders going on, and they let you think that he's really Jack the Ripper.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's like a gothic. So is it kind of like in the like same vein of Frankenstein?
Kind of, yeah.
I would guess that Rick Yancey was probably inspired by Frankenstein.
Yeah. Anyway, it's pretty stinking good. I mean, it wasn't a book that I would enjoy just to leisurely read, but it was a great book to drive by because it kept you enthralled. I mean, you're like driving along, and thank God you have things for like called cruise, because otherwise when it would get really intense, I know I would go really fast. So luckily we had cruise to keep us out of trouble. But good. It was actually a very good read. So if you like the whole, like Frankenstein and the monster hunters and the scariness of, oh my God, you're going to get eaten. Yeah, it was good.
I will stick to my occasional intense Stephen King and contemporary fiction.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I will grab one of these for myself, but if Jonathan and I need to take another road trip, I'll gladly listen to another one with him. So
Very good.
yeah.
Watching, not a whole lot.
No.
I have discovered, though, just today, a PBS show that I wanted to talk about, specifically this one. The show is called POV, or Point of View, and it's on PBS. I watch it through my PBS app, and I'm a sustaining member, so I have access to Passport in the United States PBS. I don't know that I have any. Well, yeah, Ramona, you're Canadian, but I think you probably know what PBS is. It stands for Public Broadcasting Service, similar to NPR, National Public Radio. It's just a publicly funded broadcasting service in the United States. So anyway, it's called POV, and my understanding of the program is that it's just takes you and looks at, it's like mini documentaries. And takes you into a look at the lives of other people, which is something that we all should be doing, especially right now. And I watched one about a group of girls called the Radical Monarchs, which they look like Girl Scouts, but they are not Girl Scouts. They're a group centered around social justice, and it's just it warms my activist teacher heart to see 8, 9, 10-year-olds talking about things like pride and Black Lives Matter, and it's really cool. I haven't finished that episode yet, but check out POV on PBS if you're able to.
As far as what I'm watching, again, also not having much time for watching, but The Bold and the Beautiful is back. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy.
What cliffhanger did they leave you on for 4 months?
Well, they weren't planning on leaving us there for 4 months.
Well, I know, but what did they leave you on for 4 months?
Well, Ridge went to Vegas.
Oh my God.
And is probably, going to divorce Brooke. Well, he's already divorced from Brooke, but it looked like they were going to get back together. Now, because Brooke was kissing Bill, that's not going to happen. And Hope and Liam, I think, are going to get together and stay together now. And Thomas is, thank God, finally out of the picture. But I really wonder about Sally. Is Sally going to die or not? So they're back. And I'm so very happy.
I used to shit on you for watching shows like that, but I love me a good trashy romance novel.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And in those books, they can be a bit more descriptive.
Exactly. I've read some of his books.
That one wasn't even that bad.
Yeah. Well, anyway. So.
And you've been watching Versailles with Bruce.
Yeah, we haven't lately because it just.
You've been out of town.
And I think he's finished.
Yeah.
I think he's finished the seasons that are done, so that are complete.
He's so funny. He has this project where he has a timeline. Do you know what he started with? Do you know of this project?
He started with.
It wasn't Medici.
It was one about. It was the Pope. This guy became the Pope. Bourget
or.
Yeah.
So he's working his way through the centuries with dramatic television. And I was at their house the other night, and he was watching the Revolutionary War, and he's like, yeah, it's not very good, but it's next in my timeline. So they finished 17th century and 18th century France, and now they're moving into 18th century United States, I guess.
Well, and he watches a lot of it, and I catch about every third episode that he watches, but that's okay.
Yeah, and I've watched Versailles. Actually, the reason I knew he was watching it is I was at their house.
And you heard the theme song.
And I heard the theme song because it is the best theme song for television.
Yeah,
It's really loud, but it's very good.
Yeah.
Anyway, word vomit. Where to even start? Should we start with mine or yours?
Sure, go for it.
What? Can you start with yours because mine's happier?
Okay, yeah, it's been a tough time. You all know that my mom has had some health issues. She's had some brain bleeds. We moved her into the nursing home. They moved her now into a memory care wing because the brain bleeds have made some definite cognitive impact. She's been falling quite a bit because she thinks she can do more than she really can. Had a fall last Monday, ended up breaking her arm, so a trip to the ER. Couldn't set it because of where the break is. Suggesting surgery. We don't want to do surgery. So I got to see her this weekend.
Jonathan did too.
And I saw her last weekend and this weekend. And on all three of my visits, of course, they're just window visits because of COVID, we can't go in and see her yet. So it's just telephone through the window. And all three of my visits, she recognized me. She knew who I was, but there was no recollection of the previous visit. So, yeah, and she's losing quite a bit of weight, and she hasn't been able to see her beautician since March, and her hair was always very important to her, so that's hard to see. So anyway, thoughts and prayers are coveted for us with that. The reason we made this trip, however, to South Dakota was my niece lost her husband. Chris was in a poker run on his motorcycle and lost control and had an accident and lost his life. Chris was 40, 4 kids. So it's a pretty tragic situation. Amber's very strong. Amber has a strong friend network who are going to, she lives in a small town in South Dakota, and it's the town that Chris had grown up in. So lots of Chris's friends are still there who are now her friends, and she'll have some good support. So I'm excited about that. But one of the things that I gave her, and we were going to talk a little bit about our bracelets. These bracelets are Zox, Z-O-X, and I found them on the internet, and I ordered 4. I ordered a couple for Caleb, and
Just ordered me the gay ones.
well, and I ordered one for myself. And on the inside, the bracelet looks like it's a elastic bracelet, but then on the inside, it gives you a message. Okay, this one is just breathe, and this one wasn't originally for me. I think I'm going to keep it.
You need to keep that one.
Because I've been a little stressed. But the one that was originally for me it had the saying inside that you are enough. And so Friday, we after the funeral, we got in the car to go out to the cemetery, and I was in the car with Amber. And Amber and I have some kind of cool connections, but I leaned over to her and I took the bracelet off my wrist and I gave it to her, and I said, Amber, always know there's going to be a lot of times when you don't feel it, but you are enough, and you have to be able to ask for help and get that support that you need. And anyway, so I'm just kind of a commercial for the bracelets. They were like $10 a piece, and they shipped really fast. And just some really good reminders. Caleb's say,
Love wins.
Love
and
wins.
Just love.
Just love. I'll show them. Yeah, love wins on that one.
No, just love.
Oh, just love on that one. And love wins. So anyway, ZOX, Zox bracelets.
And not gonna lie, 2 days after you gave this to me, I don't know that I didn't look them up on my phone, didn't mention them or anything. Targeted ad
Really?
on Instagram. So Mark Zuckerberg is watching. Anyway, some of my news. So, if you've been on this journey with me, I'm just going to give a brief recap and tell you my good news. But in April, decided to leave my job in Dodge City and started applying for jobs in Kansas City. I was originally hired at one building. That principal left, never turned in my paperwork, and I was had no job in the middle of a pandemic during the summer when nobody knew what school was going to look like. Finally, I got an interview at the beginning of this month and was hired as a 5th grade teacher. Shout out Hazel Grove Hornets. I'm very excited to be a part of the Grove. In the process of buying a house in Kansas City, Kansas, not Missouri. During all of this, we're constantly thinking, what does school look like in the fall? Because we're still in the middle of a rampant pandemic in the United States. It is definitely getting worse. I saw today that over just a 4-day span, the United States had reported 1 million new cases, so we are on that uphill swing again after we kind of flattened and
opened everything back up, and boom, there we went again.
Science is not to be politicized, is all I'm saying. So anyway, in Kansas, we're definitely seeing, we are reporting some of the highest number of new cases in Kansas. We were doing pretty well, but it kind of goes back to a lot of the old guard and electorate, in our electorate and in our representation at the State House, believing that science is a political issue. So masks, our governor tried to make them mandatory. That was rejected and sent down to the cities and municipalities.
Yeah.
Most urban counties, like Wyandotte County, which is where I'm moving, you have to wear a mask in public.
Sedgwick County,
which is where Wichita is. But in a lot of our rural counties, that's not the case. So because the governor was seeing this exponential growth, she said, okay, I'm going to issue an executive order that states we cannot open schools until after Labor Day. Many schools in Kansas, harvest has ended in July. We start at the beginning of August so that we can end again then by Memorial Day and can harvest in the summer. So in May. But with a pandemic going on, I saw an infographic. When we closed schools in the spring, we were here. Now, talking about reopening schools, we're like up here. So, because the representation in the state legislature decided that science is a political issue, they made a mandate or a new ordinance about how our state board of education operates, and any executive order regarding the closure of schools, because this was adopted after schools were closed in the spring by gubernatorial executive order, had to be approved by the state school board with a simple majority. So our state school board is a 10-member board, right?
Yep.
No.
Yep.
Yeah, 10-member board. So it got sent over to the state school board, and this whole time the State Department of Education is creating a They call it Navigating Change because actually Kansas was kind of at the forefront of when schools shut down. We were kind of the model for efficiency in preparing for emergency distance learning. So again, we wanted to kind of take the reins on this, and they produced like in 2 weeks, like an almost 2,000 page document about not necessarily the reason why schools need to be remain closed, but how to teach in a genuine, effective way remotely or in a hybrid setting, whatever. So I'm rambling, but Ramona asked, and so I want to give her give her a good explanation. So anyway, disappointingly, the state school board was in favor of local control.
Well, but it was a split.
It was a 5-5 split.
It was a 5-5 split.
So there wasn't a simple majority. It was a tie, which then defaults it to not passing. So the governor's executive order became null and void. And then passed the responsibility onto local school districts.
So now every local school board has the responsibility to start normal start time,
How they're going to
start. Is it going to be in person? Is it going to be a hybrid? Is it going to be all remote? How long will it be remote for? If they start in person, what are the recommendations? What are the requirements for in class? What happens when there is a outbreak? How do you respond? All of those things has now pushed that to a local level, which
has its pros and cons.
Yes, it's a local. It's a lot of it needs to be local because there are some remote counties in Kansas
that have school.
Like one school, and they have 2 cases of COVID in the entire county.
Those counties, it would be hard to say, yeah, let's close our school because, they have graduating classes of maybe 15.
Yeah.
And different counties will share schools. I know you're looking at the time. I'm sorry.
No.
Different counties will share schools. So, but then you think about a school district like Kansas City that is just so big, diverse. They need some guidance, and it was just really disappointing. Not so much the decision. It was more about some of the responses, but we won't get into that. In case you didn't know, I'm a flaming liberal, so it was hard to hear some of the things. But anyway, my representative in Kansas City voted to accept the governor's order, so that's all that matters. Hashtag we love Janet Law. So, concluding this story, Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools actually, before the state board even met, they said, this is what we're going to do, regardless of how the board votes. If they vote to, and they made it so that if they voted yes, let's accept it, then it worked. And if they voted for local control, they already had a plan in place. So my report date is still my original report date, which is August 3rd, which is a week from tomorrow. Notice I'm not in Kansas City in the aforementioned homelessness in Kansas City, but I thought I would be able to do that remotely. We are doing it remotely, but we are to report to our buildings to do it remotely. So that's interesting. Then for the entire month of August, we will be given professional development on distance learning, synchronous learning, asynchronous learning. Our instructional coach and our principal both are very experienced in online learning, actually, at the collegiate level, and in asynchronous learning, which is kind of the idea of like a flipped classroom where you record all your content and students come to you with questions and better understanding rather than teaching your content when they're all there with you live. That's synchronous learning. So we'll be doing that. And then kids don't start school until the 9th of September, which is the day after, or the Monday after Labor Day weekend in the United States. But the first 9 weeks of school, so in the United States we go by quarters, which is, well, in most places in the United States we go by quarters, which is 9 weeks typically. All those classes are going to be online for the first 9 weeks. So I won't actually be meeting my students in person until November, which is weird. You know, my big thing as a teacher is relationships, and how do you build those, and how do you build some trust rather than just having a random person on your screen talking to you about fractions and Native American colony.
But you'll find ways to build relationships.
Oh, I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will. You know, teachers have been very resourceful.
Yep.
I was going to talk about that, but one of the things about teaching in the United States is that we've become caretakers and advocates for social welfare. And right now, one of the big arguments is teachers aren't responsible for being a cog in the wheel of our economy that keeps our economy going. It's really kind of like the linchpin right now. And I saw on Facebook somebody posted a picture of like a child, not their own, that they just took in public, and they had like matted hair and they were wearing their pajamas.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I was like, you know, and their argument was, this is why we need to be in schools, or why kids need to be back in school. And I thought, yes, but also the profession of education was never meant to be a social welfare. Lots of teachers are happy to do that. And in fact, it's what drives a lot of teachers to become teachers. But if we get down to the nitty gritty of education, and so anyway, big discussion we could have on educational reform in the United States. I'm sure in places that follow a similar model can have this conversation too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'll be in Kansas City next week. Hoping from my house. I think the seller is going to let me occupy early, maybe. If not, from somewhere. I'm not going to be living in my car. So,
No.
Anyway,
We'll make it work.
we'll make it work. But first, we got to get this house packed up.
We have to be out of this house by probably Thursday.
Yeah,
So in
'cause
like 4 days.
Saturday is when he can move in,
Yep.
the buyer of this house.
Yep. So we got about 4 days to finish this up. We'll have it done.
Oh yeah, there's not a whole
There's
lot
not
left.
much left
I
here.
actually have been selling the shit that I don't want to move. So I got a nice guap of cash sitting over there on the counter. And I think I have most of the stuff that I don't want to move sold.
Yeah. So a couple more packing sessions and moving sessions, and we'll be good. The only really big thing is the piano. So
And she's a beast.
yeah, but
She's a
we got some friends, so we'll call them.
You have some friends. Remember, that's part of the reason I'm moving, because I don't have friends.
Whatever. So hey, we are at like almost an hour and 20 minutes.
We are, and there
We
are
need to-
sirens going off, like police
Yes.
sirens.
Yes.
And I see a storm coming, and I still haven't eaten dinner.
So we probably better call it a night. So next we meet, we will be probably in 2 different places. Hopefully Caleb's cows will return to the podcast at some point. But it's been great to talk to you today.
And leave us suggestions for a new name
Yeah.
if you think about it. That
Yep.
was an hour and a half ago. So
Okay.
anyway, love you
So-
lots.
Happy knitting.
Bye.
Bye.